Welcome to Learn Fun English. We're thrilled to share our very first podcast episode with you today. In this episode, we'll explore 13 ways to learn English effectively and quickly. Whether you're just starting out or looking to enhance your skills, we have some exciting tips to help you on your journey. So grab your notepad and let's jump right in.
Right. Language enthusiast. So it seems like you're really looking to kind of fast track your English fluency,
Yeah,
maybe for travel or work or even just for the fun of it.
for sure, for sure.
We've got a deep dive lined up for you today, all based on 13 ways to learn English fast and effectively from English Path. They've got some really interesting tips, and we're here to kind of help you sift through them and see what really makes sense.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, why these techniques work.
Right.
Because just knowing a tip isn't enough,
Right.
right? I
Right.
want you to walk away actually understanding, how to make these strategies work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in.
All
The first thing that jumped out at me from English Path was their emphasis on immersion.
Yes.
It's all about surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard that before, but they actually suggest some pretty fun ways to do it.
Yeah, it's one thing to say immerse yourself,
Right.
but it's another to give people actionable steps.
Right.
And I like that they pointed out the power of visual association.
Okay.
For example, they suggest labeling everyday objects in your house with their English names.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds a bit quirky, but, it's a simple way to leverage the way our brains learn.
It's like tricking your brain into learning, right?
Yeah.
You're going about your day,
Yeah.
but you're constantly being reminded of these English words.
Right.
And it reminds me of something called spaced repetition.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a memory technique
Hmm.
based on reviewing information at increasing intervals.
Yeah,
It's super effective for vocabulary learning.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Spaced repetition takes advantage of how our brains naturally forget things
Right.
by reviewing words just before you're about to forget them.
Oh,
You strengthen those neural connections and move them from short-term to long-term memory.
wow.
So that simple act of labeling things around your house
Yeah,
can actually tie into a much deeper learning strategy.
that's fascinating. It's like a little hack for your brain.
Totally.
All right, moving on to the next tip.
Okay.
English Path is a big fan of active listening,
Yeah,
which makes total sense.
makes sense.
But I feel like people toss around the term active listening without really explaining what it means.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's more than just having English sounds in the background.
Right.
It's about consciously engaging with what you're hearing.
Okay.
English Path recommends watching movies and TV shows with subtitles,
Yeah.
which is a great starting point.
Sure.
But then they challenge you to eventually ditch the subtitles
Oh,
and rely solely on your listening comprehension.
that's a good point. It's
Yeah.
like taking off the training wheels.
Right.
At first, the subtitles are there to help you,
Uh-huh.
but eventually you want to be able to understand the spoken language on its own.
Exactly. And it forces you to pay attention to different aspects of language.
Oh, okay.
When you're relying on subtitles, you might focus more on the words themselves. But without them, you start to pick up on things like intonation rhythm and even nonverbal cues,
Right.
which are all crucial for understanding natural speech.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to try watching my favorite show without subtitles tonight.
Nice.
See how much I actually understand.
Yeah.
And speaking of understanding, English Path highlights the importance of reading.
Of course.
No surprise there, right?
Right.
But I was struck by their suggestion to join a book club.
Oh, that's something I hadn't considered before. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a natural way to combine reading with speaking practice.
Right.
You get exposed to new vocabulary and grammar structures through the book itself.
Yeah.
And then you have the opportunity to discuss those ideas and practice expressing yourself in English with other people.
It's like a double whammy of English learning.
Totally.
And I think it's a great way to make reading more social and interactive because, let's be honest, sometimes reading can feel a bit solitary.
It can.
Yeah.
And language learning shouldn't be isolating. Humans are social creatures, and we learn best when we're interacting with others, sharing ideas and getting feedback.
Yeah.
So a book club is a brilliant way to incorporate that social element into your reading practice.
I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find an English book club ASAP.
Nice.
And while we're on the topic of practicing your skills,
Ooh, yeah.
English Path also dives into writing,
Yeah,
which can sometimes feel like the neglected child of language learning.
it's true.
Yeah.
We often focus so much on speaking and listening that writing gets left behind.
Right.
But English Path has some solid advice for improving writing skills.
Okay.
I particularly like their suggestion to use writing prompts.
Writing prompts.
Yeah.
That takes me back to my school days.
Uh-huh.
I remember hating those.
Well, the beauty of writing prompts is that they can be tailored to your interests.
Okay.
And these days, there's so many online resources and apps
Yeah.
that offer creative and engaging prompts that can really spark your imagination. You can find prompts related to travel, current events, personal stories,
Wow.
really anything you can think of.
So it's not just about writing boring essays anymore.
Right.
You can actually have fun with it.
Exactly. And the key is to just start writing, even if you're not sure what to say.
Yeah.
The more you write, the more comfortable you'll become with expressing yourself in English.
Sure.
And as you progress, you can start experimenting with different styles of writing, from informal emails to creative short stories.
Okay. That actually sounds kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give those writing prompts another try.
Nice.
But let's be real. Most people learning English want to be able to speak it confidently, right?
Absolutely. And English Path doesn't disappoint in that department.
Okay, good.
They offer a bunch of practical speaking tips.
Mhm.
But one that really caught my attention was the idea of practicing through storytelling or even poetry.
Wait, poetry.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I'm ready to be reciting Shakespeare just yet.
Fair enough, but hear me out. Poetry, even simple poems, forces you to pay attention to rhythm, intonation, and the musicality of language. It's like a workout for your pronunciation muscles.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah.
So even if I'm not writing sonnets,
Right.
maybe I could try incorporating some more poetic language into my everyday speech.
Exactly. And even if poetry isn't your thing,
Yeah.
English Path has other practical suggestions for getting those speaking reps in.
Okay.
They recommend something as simple as narrating your daily activities in English.
Ah, the good old internal monologue.
Right.
I can see how that would be helpful. You're
Yeah.
basically forcing yourself to think and speak in English.
Right.
Even if it's just to yourself.
It's like building a habit, right?
Right.
The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Yeah.
And it can help you identify areas where you might be struggling.
Okay.
For example, if you find yourself constantly searching for the right word
Yeah.
while you're narrating your day, that's a sign that you need to focus on expanding your vocabulary in that particular area.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's about paying attention to those little mental stumbling blocks
Right.
and using them as opportunities for growth.
Totally.
And speaking of vocabulary, English Path is all about consistent vocabulary building.
They are.
Yeah.
And I love their emphasis on keeping a vocabulary journal.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a simple yet powerful tool.
Right.
Not only does it help you keep track of new words,
Uh-huh.
but the act of writing them down and defining them in your own words
Yeah.
helps solidify them in your memory.
It's like you're creating your own personalized dictionary, right?
Exactly. And you can even add example sentences or draw little pictures
Yeah.
to help you remember the words.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to track your progress.
Right.
As your vocabulary grows, you can look back on your journal and see how far you've come.
Yeah.
It can be really motivating, especially when you're feeling discouraged.
All right. We've covered immersion active listening, reading, writing, and even a bit of poetry. Now, I know we can't avoid the grammar elephant in the room forever.
Right. Grammar can be a bit daunting,
Yeah.
but English Path doesn't shy away from it.
Okay.
They acknowledge that it's an essential part of fluency,
Right.
but they also offer a balanced approach.
Oh, okay.
They highlight the usefulness of grammar checker tools, which can be lifesavers in this digital age.
Oh, absolutely. I rely on grammar checkers all the time.
See,
They're like having a personal editor on hand 24/7.
totally.
Yeah.
But English Path wisely cautions against solely relying on those tools.
Right.
It's important to understand the why behind grammatical rules.
Okay.
To grasp the logic of the language,
Yeah.
that deeper understanding is what allows you to use grammar creatively and express yourself with nuance.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like the difference between following a recipe and actually understanding the science of baking.
totally.
If you know why certain ingredients work together,
Uh-huh.
you can start experimenting and creating your own unique dishes.
Exactly. And the same applies to language. If you understand the underlying principles of grammar,
Right.
you can start playing with language, bending the rules, and expressing yourself in ways that are uniquely you.
Okay, you've inspired me to revisit some of those grammar rules I've been avoiding.
Uh-huh. Nice.
But before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty of grammar,
Yep.
let's talk about pronunciation,
Okay.
which can be a major confidence booster when learning a new language.
It is. And English Path offers a tried and true technique called shadowing,
Oh, yeah.
where you basically mimic native speakers,
Uh-huh.
you listen to a recording, and try to repeat what you hear as closely as possible,
Yeah.
paying attention to intonation, rhythm, and individual sounds.
It's like you're trying to become a vocal chameleon,
Right.
blending in with the sounds of the language.
Exactly. And to add to that, they also suggest recording yourself speaking English
Okay.
and listening back critically.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be surprised at how much you can learn from hearing your own voice.
I've tried that before, and it can be a bit cringeworthy at first. But it's so helpful for identifying those little pronunciation quirks that you might not even realize you have.
It is. It's like holding up a mirror to your speech.
Right.
And it allows you to target specific areas where you need to improve.
Okay.
Maybe you tend to mumble certain sounds,
Yeah.
or maybe your intonation needs a bit of work.
Right.
By listening back to yourself,
Yeah.
you can pinpoint those areas and work on them specifically.
Okay. I'm convinced. I'm adding record myself speaking English to my to-do list.
Okay, good.
But before we move on, I want to touch on one of English Path's most intriguing tips.
Right.
Thinking in English.
Yes.
They present this as the ultimate goal,
Right.
the key to unlocking true fluency.
And it's a powerful concept.
It sounds a bit intimidating,
Yeah,
but I can see how it would be transformative.
for sure.
But how do you even begin to think in another language?
Well, English Path suggests starting small.
Okay.
Maybe try mentally narrating your daily tasks in English. For example, instead of thinking, I need to make coffee,
Right.
try thinking, I need to brew a cup of coffee.
Gotcha.
Simple things like that can start to shift your thinking patterns.
So it's about consciously making the effort to use English in your everyday thoughts,
Right.
even if it feels a bit forced at first.
Exactly. And here's the fascinating part.
Okay.
The more you do this, the more you're actually rewiring your brain for fluency.
Wow.
It's like creating new pathways for language processing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try incorporating more English into my internal monologue.
Good.
And speaking of technology,
Yeah.
English Path is all about leveraging the amazing tools we have at our fingertips for language learning.
They suggest exploring everything from language learning apps
Okay.
to practicing with voice assistants.
Right.
And these days, there are so many options available.
Oh, I know.
From gamified apps that make learning fun
Yeah.
to AI-powered language partners that provide personalized feedback.
It can be overwhelming, though, right? With so many choices, it's hard to know where to start.
And that's why English Path emphasizes the importance of choosing tools that align with your learning style and goals.
Right.
Do you prefer visual learning?
Yeah.
Auditory learning?
Mm-hmm.
Are you a grammar nerd?
Mm-hmm.
Or more of a vocabulary enthusiast?
Yeah.
Understanding your own preferences can help you narrow down the options and find the tools that will be most effective for you.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional with your language learning journey,
For sure.
not just jumping on the latest app bandwagon.
Right.
And speaking of exciting new developments, English Path also touches on using AI for storytelling practice,
Oh, yeah.
which sounds super futuristic.
Because imagine having an AI partner
Okay.
that can help you craft stories in English,
Wow.
provide personalized feedback,
Okay.
and even adjust to your skill level as you progress.
Wait, so it's like having a personal English tutor,
Right.
but in digital form?
Exactly. And the beauty of AI is that it can analyze your writing, identify areas where you need to improve,
Wow.
and offer targeted exercises to help you strengthen those weaknesses.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued.
Nice.
I need to check out some of these AI storytelling tools.
Definitely.
But before we get too carried away with the future of language learning,
Okay.
I want to bring it back to a more traditional technique.
Right.
Translation. English Path still sees value in using translation as a learning tool, but they offer a nuanced approach.
Right. They encourage you to try translating from your native language into English.
Oh.
It might sound counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but it forces you to actively consider word choices,
Right.
sentence structure,
Yeah.
and the nuances of both languages.
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I usually just translate from English to my native language.
Right.
But I can see how translating the other direction would really challenge me to think deeply about the language.
It does. And it's a great way to identify areas where your languages differ.
Okay.
Maybe there's a grammatical concept that exists in your native language,
Yeah.
but not in English,
Right.
or vice versa.
Yeah.
By translating back and forth, you start to become more aware of these subtle differences,
Sure.
which can help you avoid common mistakes and express yourself more accurately in English.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm going to try incorporating some translation exercises into my study routine.
Nice.
And finally, English Path, of course, recommends their own structured courses.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which makes sense.
Right.
They highlight the benefits of having expert guidance and a clear learning path.
And there's definitely value in that,
Yeah.
especially for learners who thrive in a structured environment.
Right.
Having a set curriculum, regular assignments,
Yeah.
and feedback from a teacher
Right.
can provide a sense of accountability and help you stay on track.
It's like having a personal trainer for your English skills, right?
Yeah.
They're there to motivate you, push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And help you reach your full potential.
For sure. And even if you're not enrolled in a formal course,
Yeah.
there are ways to create that structure for yourself.
Right.
You can set learning goals,
Oh.
create a study schedule,
Yeah.
and find a language partner or tutor to provide feedback and support.
All right, we've covered a ton of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored everything from immersion and active listening
Yeah.
to AI-powered storytelling and the nuances of translation.
Let's go.
And through it all, we've seen that English Path offers a wealth of practical tips and strategies.
They do.
But what really stands out to me is their emphasis on personalization.
Right.
They encourage you to find what works best for you,
Uh-huh.
to tailor your learning approach to your individual needs and goals.
For sure.
I love that message.
Yeah.
It's about taking ownership of your language learning journey and creating a path that is both effective and enjoyable.
Totally. And that's what we're going to explore further in this next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Because finding what works for you
Yeah,
is where the real magic happens.
absolutely. And it's something that English Path subtly emphasizes throughout their 13 tips.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Hey.
They're basically giving you a toolbox full of different strategies.
Uh-huh.
And it's up to you to figure out which ones work best for your learning style and goals.
Right. It's like they're saying, here are the ingredients now.
Yeah.
Go create your own masterpiece.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get too lost in the culinary metaphors,
Okay.
let's talk about something that I think a lot of language learners struggle with.
Okay.
The fear of making mistakes.
Oh, the dreaded fear of making mistakes. It can be so paralyzing.
Wait.
If you want to speak up,
Uh-huh.
you want to write freely,
Right?
but that little voice in your head keeps whispering, what if I mess up?
Exactly. And I know from personal experience that this fear can really hold you back.
Oh, for sure.
You start overthinking every word, every sentence,
Right.
and it just kills your fluency.
It does. And it's a shame because mistakes are an essential part of the learning process.
Okay.
In fact, I'd argue that they're one of the most valuable learning tools we have.
That's an interesting perspective.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Every time you make a mistake,
Yeah.
you're actually getting feedback.
Okay.
You're learning what doesn't work,
Correct.
which helps you refine your understanding of the language.
Okay.
It's like a scientist conducting an experiment.
Yeah.
Sometimes the experiment fails,
Right?
but you learn something valuable from that failure.
That's a great way to reframe it. It's
Yeah.
not about avoiding mistakes.
Right.
It's about embracing them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's be real. Everyone makes mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Even native English speakers.
That's true.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to Google a grammar rule
Yeah.
or look up a word in the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of being a language user, regardless of your fluency level.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we put native speakers on a pedestal
Yeah.
and forget that they're human too.
They are. And language is constantly evolving.
It
As new words emerge,
Mhm.
grammar rules shift,
Yeah.
pronunciation changes over time.
Right.
It's a fluid, dynamic system, and we're all just trying to navigate it the best we can.
Okay, that's a great reminder.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off a bit,
Right.
knowing that even native speakers are constantly learning and adapting.
For sure.
So we've talked about immersion, active listening, reading, writing, speaking, practice vocabulary, building grammar, pronunciation, thinking in English, leveraging technology storytelling with AI translation techniques.
Wow.
Wow, it's a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
But I want to circle back to something that English Path emphasizes.
Okay.
And that's the importance of finding your why.
Ah, yes, the why.
Yeah,
It's the driving force behind any successful endeavor,
right.
especially language learning.
Exactly. They talk about the importance of identifying a specific goal for your English learning journey, whether it's traveling the world,
Yeah.
advancing your career,
Right.
or simply connecting with more people.
Mm-hmm.
Having that clear purpose in mind will fuel your motivation and keep you focused when the going gets tough.
It's like having a compass
Okay.
that guides you through the ups and downs of language learning.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, it's not always going to be easy.
It's not.
There will be times when you feel frustrated, discouraged, maybe even ready to give up.
Right.
But when you have a strong why anchoring you,
Yeah.
you'll find the strength to persevere.
I completely agree. And I think it's important to make that why as tangible as possible.
Yeah.
Don't just say, I want to learn English.
Right.
Dig deeper.
Uh-huh.
Ask yourself why you want to learn English.
Okay.
What are you hoping to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
What doors will it open for you?
And once you have that clear vision in mind,
Yeah.
write it down.
Okay.
Create a vision board,
Right.
or even just make it your phone wallpaper.
Wow.
Surround yourself with reminders of your why.
Yeah.
So that when those inevitable moments of doubt creep in,
Yeah.
you can look at that and remember what you're fighting for.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about turning that abstract goal into something concrete,
Uh-huh.
something you can see and feel.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
But we're not done yet. We still got some fascinating territory to cover.
Mm.
And I have a feeling this last part is going to be the most exciting yet.
I think so, too. We've laid the groundwork,
Right.
explored the strategies,
Yeah.
and now it's time to kind of shift our focus from the how to the what,
Yeah.
as in, what are you going to do with all this newfound knowledge?
Exactly, because information is only powerful if you actually use it, right?
Right.
So we're going to take everything we've learned from English Path
Okay.
and translate it into action.
And to do that, we need to kind of revisit that powerful concept of the why.
Okay.
We touched on it earlier,
Right.
but I want to take it a step further.
All right.
I want you to close your eyes for a moment
Yeah.
and imagine yourself using English in a specific real-world situation.
Okay. I'm closing my eyes. What am I picturing?
It's entirely up to you.
Okay.
What's a scenario where being fluent in English would make a real difference in your life? Maybe you're traveling to a country where English is the main language.
Okay.
You're confidently navigating the streets, ordering food, chatting with locals.
I like it.
Or perhaps you're presenting your ideas at an international conference,
Okay.
captivating the audience with your eloquent English.
I love that it's about bringing that why to life.
Yeah.
Visualizing yourself actually using the language
Right.
in a way that matters to you.
Exactly. And pay attention to how you feel in that imagined scenario.
Okay.
Do you feel confident, excited, empowered?
Yeah.
Hold on to that feeling.
Okay.
Because that's the fuel. That will keep you going when the learning gets tough.
Because let's be honest, there will be moments of frustration.
Oh, yeah.
Moments when you want to throw your textbook out the window.
There will be, but when those moments hit,
Yeah.
come back to that vision, that feeling.
Okay.
Remind yourself why you're doing this.
It's like having a secret weapon against those language learning demons.
Totally.
All right, before we get too carried away with the visualization exercises,
Okay.
I want to do a quick recap of the key takeaways from our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Oh.
Let's distill this down to the most actionable and impactful points.
Okay, first and foremost, immersion is key.
Yes.
Surround yourself with English as much as possible.
Right.
Make it a part of your daily life, whether it's through music, movies, podcasts,
Yeah.
or even just changing the language settings on your phone.
And remember, active listening is your superpower.
Right.
Don't just passively hear English. Engage with it.
Okay.
Listen to podcasts, watch movies,
Yeah.
and have conversations with native speakers whenever possible.
Reading is your best friend.
Yes.
Find books, articles, blogs, anything that interests you,
Right.
and make it a habit to read in English regularly.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed at how much you pick up just by exposing yourself to the written language.
And don't neglect the power of writing.
Right.
Start a journal,
Mhm.
write emails to friends,
Yeah.
or even just jot down your thoughts and ideas in English.
Okay.
The more you write, the more comfortable you'll become with expressing yourself in the language.
Speaking practice is crucial.
Yes.
So find ways to incorporate it into your daily life.
Right.
Find a language partner,
Uh-huh.
join a conversation group,
Mhm.
or even just talk to yourself in the mirror.
Totally.
The key is to get those words flowing.
Vocabulary building is an ongoing process.
Right.
Make it a habit to learn new words every day.
Yeah.
Whether it's through flashcards, vocabulary apps, or simply paying attention to the words you encounter in your reading and listening.
Grammar can be a challenge,
Yeah.
but don't let it intimidate you. Break it down into manageable chunks.
Okay.
Use online resources
Oh.
and practice, practice, practice.
And when it comes to pronunciation, don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
Try shadowing native speakers, recording yourself,
Yeah.
and singing along to English songs.
Okay.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
And perhaps most importantly, remember to embrace mistakes as opportunities to learn.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to make them because they are an essential part of the journey.
And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Wow.
But your journey to English fluency is just beginning.
That's exciting.
It is remember to stay curious, stay motivated, and most importantly, stay persistent.
Right.
The rewards of mastering a new language are well worth the effort.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on 13 ways to learn English effectively and quickly. I hope you found these tips helpful and inspiring. Remember, consistency is key, and every small step brings you closer to fluency. Don't forget to share your own tips in the comments and subscribe for more content like this. Happy learning and see you next time.